Evening, Amy, and I'm doing my speech on closed primaries. Due to the 2016 election cycle, controversial topic facing America at the moment is that of open versus closed primary elections. In the open primary states, any registered voter is allowed to cast their ballot in either party's primary, while in closed primaries, only voters registered with a specific party may vote in that party's primary. In a general election, any registered voter can vote for any candidate they choose, regardless of party affiliation. Many people who identify as independent, no party affiliation, or who have chosen to register with a smaller party, such as the Green Party, claim that this party policy excludes them from the democratic process. Some voters believe that closed primaries allow the major parties to manipulate the nomination process. However, party leaders and activists, including myself, who participate in the party system, believe that it is only fair that the party be allowed to choose their own nominees. I am asking you today to fight for our Florida primary process to continue to stay closed and exercise your rights as an American and vote in them. Like with many social justice issues, both sides of the primary debate claim freedom as the main motivation behind support for their side of the argument. Proponents of open primaries claim that this is an issue of the freedom to vote. However, the truth is this is a constitutional issue covered in the U.S. Bill of Rights. Our forefathers wanted Americans to actively participate in our government without fear, and therefore gave us the rights to join or leave any organization as we see fit. Under the freedom of association, we are guaranteed the right to come together with others to collectively express, promote, pursue, and or defend common interests. If the state opened the primaries, the constitutional rights of party members to defend the best interests of the party would be denied. My friend Michael Danish from the Florida Young Democrats put it best when he said, "Why should someone who is not a member of my party get to decide my nominee for an elected office?" And that does happen. Rush Limbaugh, in Operation Chaos, encouraged his ditto heads to raid the party primaries of the Democrats, tilting the vote against Barack Obama, the presumptive nominee at the time. And this happens on both sides. I have a friend whose husband, for 20 years, despite being a hardcore progressive, has been a registered Republican for the sole intention of ruining the Republican primaries. Now, it sounds silly when it's a few people in a closed primary system, but in an open primary system, people can easily organize to do that. While many people who identify as independent or NPA, or who have chosen to register with a smaller party, claim that this policy excludes them from the democratic process, it is important to point out that no one prevents any registered voter from changing party affiliation, and often both major parties make efforts to encourage people to register or re-register to vote. Therefore, it is really the person themselves and not the party isolating NPAs and smaller parties from participation in the process. Another common argument in favor of primaries, of open primaries, is that it would increase voter turnout. A quote you hear is from Michael McDonald, a political science professor from U of F, discussing the average 9-point lead in states with open primaries. What they don't tell you is that the voters in that 9-point lead are called super voters, which means they're probably going to show up in the general election anyway. So while yes, allowing people who were not allowed to vote before to vote now will cause your numbers to go up, it does not encourage people who would otherwise not vote to come out and vote. And according to a Pew Research study, the primary was not the problem. In 2016, until Super Tuesday, voter turnout was averaging 29%, which is incredibly high for a primary. What got people frustrated was assuming that their vote no longer counted and that they were assuming who the winner was, and that's why they stopped turning out. The most common argument against closed primaries is that people don't want to join a party. There's a lot of rhetoric that comes out of people's mouths about how we should fight for bipartisanship or even nonpartisanship. But as Colin Powell once said, we are a partisan nation. We were raised a partisan nation. The parties are umbrellas we stand under because they reflect the majority of our beliefs. No one is going to agree with any organization 100% of the time, but to opt out of the process is akin to a child throwing a temper tantrum. Primaries are an important part of our democratic process, and no matter what your beliefs are, you should vote like your life depends on it, because your rights do depend on it. Brave men and women fought and died on battlefields for us to have these rights, and not voting is just the same as spitting on their graves. If you don't like the system, stand up and change the system. We live in a marvelous democracy where we can all have a say in the way things work. No system will be perfect. Governance of the primary system will always need to be in place. However, by increasing voter turnout and voter participation across the board, the rights of freedom of association can be maintained. And by allowing states with closed primaries to continue to be respected, our population can raise more educated voters, ensuring the population can take the rights and privileges of voting seriously. Please check with your supervisor of elections today to make sure that you are registered with a major party so that you can participate in this year's primaries. Your local elections in the state of Florida will be held on August the 28th. Thank you.